Today I will tell you a story. The story is titled, Quirky and the Times I Sat Still a Little Longer. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you appreciate me. You can skip this if you don't and oppose. Like this video. Thank you very much. The story begins as follows. There is a chair by the window in my living room that has slowly become more than just a piece of furniture. It is slightly worn at the edges, the cushion shaped by countless evenings, and the sunlight always seems to find it first. That chair used to be where I scrolled endlessly through my phone, half present in my own home. But ever since Quirky came into my life, it has become something else entirely. Quirky is not the loudest dog in the neighborhood. He doesn't bark at every passing motorbike or chase every fluttering plastic bag. He has soft brown eyes that always look like they are thinking something important. His ears stand up when he hears the refrigerator open, but droop gently when he senses I'm tired. He has a patch of white fur on his chest shaped like a small cloud, and when he runs, it bounces like a tiny piece of sky attached to him. Most evenings, after work, I collapse into that chair. I used to sink into it with a sigh heavy enough to carry the entire day. Quirky would watch me from the doorway at first. He never rushed. He would take a few careful steps, his nails clicking softly against the floor, then sit right in front of me. He wouldn't jump. He wouldn't demand. He would just sit. At first, I didn't understand. I would pat his head absent-mindedly while checking emails. But Quirky had a way of waiting. He would tilt his head slightly, his eyes following my face. If I looked away too long, he would rest his chin gently on my knee. Not heavy, not intrusive, just enough to say, I'm here. And somehow, that simple gesture would make me put my phone down. I would begin to notice the light changing outside the window. The sky would soften from blue to gold, then to a gentle pink. The air would cool, and the world outside would slow down just a little. And Quirky would stay exactly where he was, as if he had been trained by the universe to remind me that evenings are not meant to be rushed. Sometimes I would scratch behind his ears. His eyes would close halfway, and he would lean slightly into my hand. That tiny lean felt like trust, like gratitude, like friendship. Without realizing it, I started sitting still a little longer each day. And Quirky always stayed with me. There were days when I felt overwhelmed, deadlines piling up, messages unanswered, responsibilities pressing against my chest like a heavy coat I couldn't take off. On those days, sitting still felt impossible. My mind ran faster than my body, and even when I was physically at home, I was somewhere else entirely. But Quirky didn't care about deadlines. He cared about presence. One rainy afternoon, I came home soaked and frustrated. Traffic had been terrible, and my umbrella had flipped inside out in the wind. I dropped my bag onto the floor harder than I meant to. Quirky, who had been napping near the door, lifted his head. He didn't bark. He didn't get excited. He simply stood up and walked toward me. His tail wagged slowly, not wildly. It was the kind of wag that said, "You're back. That's enough." Instead of rushing to change clothes or complain about the day, I found myself kneeling on the floor. Quirky immediately pressed his forehead against mine. His fur smelled faintly like sunshine and the blanket he loved. I wrapped my arms around him, and he leaned his full weight into me. We stayed like that for a while. The rain tapped softly against the windows. My breathing slowed. My shoulders relaxed. Quirky's heartbeat was steady and calm, like a metronome guiding me back to myself. That day, I learned something simple but powerful. Sometimes, sitting still is not a waste of time. Sometimes, it is exactly what we need. Quirky has a daily routine that never changes. Morning stretch, breakfast, a slow walk around the neighborhood where he stops to sniff the same tree every day. Afternoon nap in the patch of sunlight that moves across the floor. Evening sit by the chair time. At first, I thought his routine was boring. Now I see it differently. His consistency is comforting. In a world where everything feels unpredictable, Quirky's steady presence is like an anchor. When I sit with him, I notice things I used to ignore: the sound of birds returning to their nests, the distant laughter of children playing, the way the wind brushes against the curtains. And I begin to understand that Quirky isn't just sitting with me. He is teaching me. He is teaching me that love doesn't have to be loud to be strong. That companionship doesn't need constant activity to be meaningful. That sometimes the greatest gift we can give someone is our quiet attention. There were evenings when I would sit in that chair and do nothing but breathe, with Quirky curled at my feet. And in those moments, I felt richer than on any busy, productive day. because I was fully there, and so was he. Over time, the chair by the window became our ritual space. Friends who visited would laugh and say, "You and Corky look like an old married couple." And maybe we did. Two beings sharing silence as if it were a language only we understood. But what they didn't see was how much those quiet moments changed me. I began to notice Corky's subtle expressions more clearly. The way his ears twitched when he heard my footsteps before I even opened the door. The way his tail wagged a little faster when I laughed. The way he chose to sit closer on days when I seemed sad. Animals pay attention in ways we often forget to. One weekend, I decided not to go out, not to meet anyone, not to fill the day with errands. Instead, I stayed home. I made tea and sat in my chair earlier than usual. Corky jumped up beside me this time. Rare, but allowed. He curled into a small, warm ball against my side. We watched the world outside together. An elderly man walked slowly past our window, holding a small bag of groceries. A young couple rode by on a motorbike, smiling into the wind. A stray cat crossed the street with careful steps. Life moved, and we stayed still. In that stillness, I felt something gentle and profound, connection, not just to Corky, but to the rhythm of everyday life. Corky eventually fell asleep, his breathing deep and even. I rested my hand on his back and felt the rise and fall. I thought about how short a dog's life is compared to ours, how their years pass faster, how their loyalty remains constant from beginning to end. And I realized something that made my chest ache in the softest way. Every minute I spend truly present with him matters. Not because it is productive, not because it is impressive, but because it is shared. Corky doesn't ask for much. Food, water, walks, a warm place to sleep, and my time. He doesn't measure my success by promotions or achievements. He measures it by how often I sit beside him, how often I look into his eyes, how often I scratch behind his ears. Through Corky, I have learned that relationships between humans and animals are not one-sided. We think we are the caregivers, the providers. And yes, we feed them, shelter them, protect them. But they care for us too. They soften our edges. They slow our breathing. They remind us that love can be wordless and still complete. In today's fast and noisy world, we often measure our worth by how busy we are. We rush from task to task, scrolling, replying, planning, worrying. We forget that being constantly active is not the same as truly living. Corky has taught me that sitting still is not laziness, it is awareness. When I sit quietly with him, I reconnect with my own breath, my own thoughts, and the simple beauty of the present moment. The bond between humans and animals offers something deeply valuable: unconditional presence. Animals do not judge our mistakes or compare our achievements. They respond to our energy, our kindness, and our attention. By spending mindful time with them, we learn patience, empathy, and responsibility. We begin to treat them not as possessions, but as companions with feelings and needs. To apply this lesson in daily life, try setting aside a few quiet minutes each day, without your phone, to sit with your pet or simply observe nature. Listen more carefully. Move more gently. Show gratitude through small acts of care. When we slow down and honor the lives of animals around us, we become more compassionate humans. And in that compassion, both species grow together.